"Be off to the Crusades" was a popular contemporary saying in the blood-soaked dark days of Christianity v. Islam. And here we have a stone wall mount of what would be a typical recruitment method. You'd be tenant farming, and you'd venture down to your manor lord's house to turn over the grain you'd farmed, and you'd just feel faint at the sight of one of these tableaus, because it surely meant you and all your sons were off to early Morocco to die of malaria or festering arrow or sword wounds. The British Museum tragedy here is the same as any history tragedy the world over for any period of bloodshed, really. That is to say, the Crusades were so long ago that no one alive today remembers how completely horrible the times were, and that even were you to go now and live and eat out of a septic tank until you died after a couple of weeks of eating sewage, you'd have a more fruitful life than any of the wretches alive during the Crusades, rich or poor. The problem, of course, being that though people then did know God more closely, they had not the slightest clue about anything else in life, and so they beat their wives, raped their daughters, drank themselves into comas whenever possible, poisoned their husbands, had sex with their brothers, didn't know what a single thing was, actually, in reality. And so the simplest thing, like a cloud or a tree or a sneeze, took on some incredibly unintelligent, fantastical meaning, usually to do with wood nymphs or dancing fairy creatures. In medieval times, no action anyone took all day long was straightforward, and instead would involve some elaborate roundabout of nonsense, physical or mental labor, and because electricity had, of course, not been invented, no one could so much as see anything at night, and so candles and lanterns were employed, but even those were half the time destined to light the way and half the time destined to burn down the house. You couldn't trust your own neighbor, and if you so much walked over a hill, you'd find the people in the next valley so strange you'd at least wind up in a rock fight, if not killing or being killed. And so the British Museum is showing its usual callow, callous tastelessness in posting this tableau, as if to say, remember the good old days of the Crusades? You might as well find yourself at the Cologne Museum and find a knitted tapestry of a grinning Hitler smiling down at you from above the entrance, and a fat sign saying, remember the good old days of the Nazis. This documentarian would vote this particular tableau, a depiction of crusading Knight Thornton of York, this documentarian would vote this particular tableau one of the most disgusting, lamentable, and evil pieces on display at the British Museum, except that the British Museum has about 10,000 other Crusades artifacts on glorious show. Each of the artifacts bathed in soft white light, as if to softly smile and say, remember when. Nothing says Christmas like a pair of Crusades earrings, and this documentarian says as much with a jocular tone, yet the truth couldn't be further from amusing if it were bespoke by the ancient nun Sir Madeline, Saint Madeline, she who was left alone in the wilderness for 20 years because the church forgot her convent, was located near Shrewsbury. Now do keep in mind as you pursue truth in God, that for as long as any church has existed, even the dirt-scratching poor have had the opportunity to turn money over for popes and priests to in turn turn over to merchants whose main wares consisted of crucifix jewelry. As the British Museum offers in constant subtle reminders to the eyes and ears, should you find yourself able to stomach one of the museum's hopelessly complicated and garbled audio tours, that religion has been big business for the Illuminati and Freemasons, and suffering for anyone not a member of those lucky clubs. In precisely the year 1302, these Crusades earrings were the hot item, sported by the overheated likes of the Borgia family. Note, though, the shackles to which the crucifix bit is attached to the ear attachment piece. These shackles represented the abject slavery even the most oversexed clergy enjoyed toward the idea of God, an idea often explained as the wrong one in many of the more underread passages of the Bible.